Piers Morgan just hosted a debate between the liberal streamer Destiny and the libertarian podcaster Dave Smith that's already getting a ton of traction online. Things got particularly spicy when the debate turned to the topic of the government's response to COVID-19, particularly the COVID-19 vaccines. Here's that moment.
It was just people during the COVID lockdown saying like, hey, I don't think these lockdowns work, or hey, I don't think this vaccine actually does stop you from getting COVID. My point is many of the people who were vindicated and turned out to be right. And so, yeah, I think there's a real problem with TikTok. But you don't think they were vindicated to be right, Destiny, when they said the vaccine?
No, of course not. The vast majority of the COVID conspiracies were absolutely false. There is no worldwide vaccine passport mandate. There aren't all these people dying from vaccines. Listen, there wasn't created a bioweapons lab in Ukraine.
Okay, but you're arguing with something I didn't say. I'm saying the official narrative was that it didn't come from the lab. If you get the vaccine, you cannot get it and you cannot transmit it. These were huge stories that were flatly wrong. No, you're shaking your head. That's not wrong.
The official position of the NIH or the government was not that if you get vaccinated, you will never transmit it and you will never get sick. I know that there is the one quote that people, yes, I'm aware that there's the one quote, but for anybody that honestly followed any of that or saw all of the statements, nobody actually thought that.
So there's a lot to unpack and a lot to fact check there. But first, I'm Brad Palumbo and welcome back to Mediaite, your home for commentary and coverage on the intersection of politics and media. Anyway, in light of this clip, we've got a factual and historical question to wrangle with. Did the experts and authorities, in fact, claim that the COVID-19 vaccine would drastically reduce or even eliminate the transmission of the virus? The short answer is that yes, some very high-profile leaders in both government and media said exactly that. Here's CDC Director Rochelle Walensky back in 2021.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
And here's President Biden that same year.
The various shots that people are getting now cover that. You're okay. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget MSNBC host Rachel Maddow.
Instead of the virus being able to hop from person to person to person, potentially mutating and becoming more virulent and drug resistant along the way, now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
You get the idea. People in positions of authority and power did make this claim, and it did ultimately prove untrue. So for liberal commentators like Destiny to try to claim that this never happened, honestly, it just feels like gaslighting. It's like they're trying to tell us that the things we remember, the things we heard, we saw, we experienced, didn't actually happen. And if you want to further fuel conspiracies and turn off skeptics, I can't think of a much better way to do it than that. I mean, why not just acknowledge that many people did overstate the benefits of the COVID-19 vaccine, but argue that that wasn't some grand conspiracy, it was just motivated by an earnest desire to see people get vaccinated and the lack of data and long-term information we had at that point? Why not just acknowledge these errors, but still point to the facts and the data that suggest that the vaccine may have saved millions of lives and was still effective at preventing serious illness and death? Why not point out that even if it didn't stop people from getting COVID, that's still how many traditional vaccines work? They don't necessarily prevent an illness, but they build up immunity so that if you do get it, your immune system can better respond and avoid the worst outcomes. All of this would put somebody in a much better and a much more credible position to defend the COVID-19 vaccines and push back on unfounded conspiracy theories or notions that are out there. But it would also require some small amount of intellectual humility, which, for some people, is apparently too much to ask. Alright guys, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for joining me, and please do consider subscribing and sticking around, and maybe even turning on those bell notifications. Plus, don't forget to hit that like button and comment with your thoughts below, and with that, I'll see you all in the next video.